The wind clawed at the night, shrieking through the empty streets like a living thing. Snow fell in thick, unrelenting sheets, erasing the world one white breath at a time. Somewhere in that frozen wasteland, a mother lay curled against the cold, shielding the only thing she loved. She would face the storm, or die in it, but she would not let her baby go. The blizzard had crept in with quiet menace, a gray wall on the horizon that swallowed the sunset before anyone had time to prepare. By midnight, the town was a ghost, shops shuttered, windows fogged with frost, the streets empty except for the wind's restless hands. Out by the old warehouse, long since abandoned and left to rot, something stirred. If you passed by quickly you might not notice. Just a small mound in the snow, half buried, hunched tight against the rusted siding. But if you looked closer you'd see the outline of ears, the faint flicker of breath. She was small, far too small for the kind of life she'd been forced to live. Her fur, once white, was now streaked with grime and ice, clinging in stiff clumps. Ribs rose and fell beneath skin stretched thin. The pads of her paws were cracked and raw, painted with tiny spots of blood that froze almost instantly in the cold. But still she did not move. Beneath her chest, pressed so close she could feel every tiny breath, was a newborn pup. Its eyes were sealed shut against the world, its body fragile and trembling. Even the smallest gap in her protection would mean death for him, the kind of death that came quietly in the snow. The wind slammed against the side of the building, rattling rusted metal like bones. Ice crystals clung to her eyelashes, making her blink hard to clear them. Her stomach ached from days without food, but hunger was just a dull background hum now. There was only one thought in her mind: keep him warm. Time blurred into a long, unending night. The snow kept falling. Her body shook under the strain, but she didn't loosen her curl. Every time her pup whimpered, she adjusted, folding herself tighter, leaning her flank into the wind, using her own heat as a shield. It would have been easy for the world to forget them here, two specks in a storm. And maybe it would have, if not for a man named Tom whose life was about to change forever. Because even in the worst nights, sometimes the storm delivers not just snow, but a story. Tom had closed his small corner shop later than usual. The weather had chased away customers hours ago, but stubbornness kept him there, restocking shelves no one would see until the storm passed. By the time he locked up, the street lamps were drowning in white, their yellow glow swallowed by the blizzard. His boots crunched over ice as he leaned into the wind, head down, scarf wrapped high over his nose. Every gust felt like a shove from an invisible hand. He knew he should hurry home. Storms like this were nothing to play with, but something tugged at his attention. It was faint at first, just a lump against the wall of the old warehouse, half buried under drifting snow. In a storm like this, it could have been anything: trash, a chunk of ice. But then, it moved. Tom slowed, squinting through the flakes. Two glints appeared from the mound, small, wary eyes reflecting the dim streetlight. His breath caught. A dog? He murmured to himself, stepping closer. The wind roared, stealing the warmth from his voice. When he was close enough to make out her shape, his heart clenched. She was huddled low to the ground, every muscle tense, ears pinned flat. And then he saw the tiny face nestled against her chest. A pup. So small it barely looked real. Oh no! The words slipped out in a breath. He dropped to one knee, his coat brushing the snow. Hey there, girl, it's all right. I'm not here to hurt you. The dog's eyes narrowed. Her lips twitched upward, exposing teeth, not in blind rage but in warning. She was telling him exactly where the line was and he just crossed it. Tom stayed still, hands visible, his breath fogging in the air between them. You've got a little one, huh? You're protecting him. I get it. The pup let out a small, muffled squeak, and the mother lowered her head protectively. Snow whipped across them, stinging Tom's cheeks. He realized with a sick twist of his gut that if he walked away now, they wouldn't survive the night. But how do you help someone who doesn't want to be helped? The snow was relentless, each flake a tiny blade on Tom's exposed skin. His knees were already damp from kneeling in the drift, but he didn't move. He knew the second he lunged or raised his voice, she'd either attack or flee, and in this cold, running would kill that pup. He tried a different approach. Slowly, deliberately, he reached into his coat pocket and pulled out the half sandwich he'd been saving for later. Turkey. Not much, but to a starving dog it might be everything. He placed it in the snow between them, then sat back slightly. It's for you? No tricks. Her nostrils flared. Hunger flickered in her eyes, but so did suspicion. She glanced from the food to his face, weighing the risk. Minutes crawled by. The storm pressed against them, the snow rising around their bodies like a slow tide. Finally, she stretched her neck, snatched the sandwich in a flash, and retreated to her curl, keeping her pup shielded even as she chewed. Tom took a slow breath. Good girl, see? No harm. He inched closer, hands out, palms up. She tensed but didn't growl this time. His fingers were less than a foot from her fur when the pup whimpered again, a sound so frail it barely cut through the wind. The sound froze Tom in place. It wasn't just cold that was killing them. The pup was weak, too weak. Okay, he said softly, almost to himself. We're doing this now. Tom had two options. Leave and hope someone else found them before morning, or risk her teeth and get them out now. He chose the latter. Pulling off his coat, he laid it out on the snow beside her, speaking in the calmest voice he could muster. I'm gonna wrap you both up, alright? Nice and warm. She eyed the coat, then him. For a long moment, neither moved. Then, slowly, she lowered her head, not in submission but in something else. Trust. Tom moved quickly. He slid his hands under her and the pup, lifting them together in one careful scoop. She didn't fight. Instead, she pressed her head into his chest, her body trembling against his. The pup was barely warm, a tiny limp bundle of fur. Tom clutched them close, wrapping the coat around all three of them, and turned toward the faint glow of his apartment windows in the distance. Every step was a battle against the wind, his boots sinking deep into the drifts. But he kept going, teeth clenched, the weight in his arms feeling far heavier than it was. What he didn't know was that saving them from the snow was only the beginning. Tom slammed the apartment door behind him, his breath coming in short bursts, chest heaving. Snow clung to his coat, hair, and boots, melting in tiny puddles on the entryway floor. He didn't bother taking anything off. Instead, he laid the bundle in his arms gently on a folded blanket by the heater. The mother dog immediately curled back around her pup, shivering violently, eyes darting to every corner of the unfamiliar space. Easy, easy, Tom murmured, kneeling beside them. His fingers brushed over the pup, cold but not stiff. There was hope. He grabbed a towel, rubbing gently along the mother's fur to get the ice out. She flinched at first, but his voice kept her still. When he reached for the pup, she stiffened, a low rumble rising in her chest. I know, he whispered, but if I don't, he won't make it. Her eyes locked on his for a long, tense moment. Then, she eased her jaw shut. Tom worked quickly, drying the tiny body, cupping it in his hands to share his warmth. The pup's breaths were shallow, but after a few minutes, a faint squeak slipped out. Tom smiled through the lump in his throat. You're a fighter, huh? He fetched a shallow bowl of warm water, setting it near the mother. She sniffed it, then lapped eagerly. A moment later, she was licking her pup clean, her movements tired but determined. Outside, the storm still howled. But here, in the dim light of his living room, the first battle had been won. The hours that followed were quiet but tense. Tom sat on the couch, watching the mother's every move. Each time he shifted, her eyes tracked him, ready to shield the pup. It was nearing dawn when she surprised him. Standing slowly, she walked toward the kitchen, her paws leaving faint wet prints on the floor. She stopped a few feet from him, looking between him and the empty water bowl. Tom got the message. Okay, girl. I'll get more. When he came back, she was waiting, her tail twitching low. He poured fresh water and she drank deeply. Then, as if deciding something important, she walked back to the blanket, but didn't curl as tightly this time. She left just enough space for him to kneel beside her. Very slowly, Tom reached out. His hand hovered over her head. She sniffed his fingers, and then, to his shock, pressed her forehead into his palm. It was the smallest gesture, but it told him everything. From then on, she allowed him to tend to the pup without growling. He fed her bits of boiled chicken, and though she ate fast, she always checked on her pup first. When the storm finally broke and light streamed through the frosted windows, Tom knew they were safe, but also that his life had changed. A week later, the snowbanks were melting into slush, and the streets were busy again. Tom had taken the pair to a vet, where he learned the pup was a boy, tiny but healthy now, and the mother, no more than 2 years old, had no microchip. Looks like she's been out here a while, the vet said. You did good getting them in when you did. Tom had tried to tell himself he'd find them a home, But each night, when the mother curled at the foot of his bed and the pup dozed in a small basket beside him, that idea felt less and less possible. One evening as he sat with the pup in his lap, the mother hopped onto the couch beside him. She placed her head on his knee, sighing as if she'd finally let go of something heavy. Tom stroked her ears. "Guess you already decided, huh?" He named her Luna and the pup Frost. They became the quiet heartbeat of his home, following him from room to room, greeting him at the door, curling beside him on cold nights. And sometimes on snowy evenings, Tom would glance out at the swirling white beyond his window and remember the night he found them, the night a starving frozen stray faced down a blizzard for the sake of her child. It wasn't just survival, it was love. Luna's love for Frost didn't just save him from the blizzard, it saved her too. If her courage touched your heart tonight, imagine how many other animals are out there fighting their own storms, just waiting for someone to see them. Subscribe to join our community of animal heroes, share this video to spread Luna and Frost's story, and let us know in the comments. What would you name a dog this brave?